Hello, it's me again. I'm going to wait for some more people to come on here before I make an announcement of something that happened in my life that is very sad. And I debated over even discussing it on the show. I've debated it back and forth, but I realized that I will need to. I will need to, and I'll wait till some more people get on here. And I'm actually going to count on my people today to give me what to talk about today, what to do. This may be a folding show. It may be a shorter show. I'm just going to go with the flow and go with my gut feelings. I might get emotional on the show. I may just be fine. What happened to me, I pretty much cried out, but who knows what else is going to come up. Hi, Kelly, how are you? It's just been, the Mercury retrograde ended last week. I think it was last Thursday. And they talk about that shadow, that some have called it the wobble of the Mercury retrograde. Some call it the shadow that goes on for another 2 weeks after that. Hey, Whimsy, I kind of had a feeling you were going to be here. I've got Kelly and Whimsy here. But they talk about the Mercury retrograde shadow going on for a couple of weeks. Usually, I'm just so relieved they're over. I'm fine, whatever's going to happen. But this was an unusually intense retrograde. Many people I talked to were severely affected by it because it was bringing up a lot of things maybe we didn't want to look at. That's how we learn. That's how we grow, when we face the things that we don't want to deal with. So a lot of that was coming up for many of us. I heard it over and over and over. And so it doesn't surprise me that the wobble would still be so strong. Well, Kelly, I'm gonna wait till I just get a few more. Hi, Danny. I'm gonna wait till I just get a few more people on here because I don't know. I may have to just say it over and over throughout the show as people are joining the news that I have, and it's not happy news. But I'm doing okay. At least in this moment. But it has been a ride. We're going through an extremely intense heat wave right now that I'm told is going to get a lot worse. And we got a lot of humidity. I've run my air conditioner. You may hear my fan in the background. I apologize for that, but I don't want to have sweat rolling off of me during the show. Last night, my electricity went off for several hours, quite a few hours, most of the night without air conditioning. So I think it went off maybe 12:30 last night, didn't come on until about 10 o'clock this morning. So that was a lot of time without air conditioning, and it was not pleasant. God is about, hi, everybody. I only have a few people here, but certainly Whimsy knows this already. I had one friend who comes on here a lot, and I didn't want her finding out on the show. I gave her a quick text before the show. When you have a tragedy in your life, sometimes it's just so hard to contact people because, as I said to my dear Whimsy yesterday, I didn't even tell her until yesterday because I couldn't talk about it. I just couldn't talk. Maybe one or two people I could talk to because I just fall apart. I just start crying. And, Whimsy, you really, really helped me a lot. But anyway, those of you who are here, now my phone's ringing. I'm sorry. I thought I'd turn this off. Sorry. Okay, I got that off. Sasha died. My Sasha died. And it was very unexpected. The irony is, and folks, I don't know what kind of show this is going to be today. I don't even know if I'm going to make it through it, but I'm just going to see where it goes. You'll recall last week we were actually talking about this on the show, talking about people losing their pets, loss of loved ones, how uncanny we were having these discussions. And you may recall I said, well, Sasha's off in the kitchen sleeping. You know, cats sleep a lot. Sometimes they'll sleep 18, 19, 20 hours a day. And I didn't know. I didn't know she was sick. I didn't at that time. I didn't know. And people keep asking me, well, didn't you know? Didn't you see anything? Well, no, I didn't. Up until even the week before this happened, Sasha seemed just fine, other than just sleeping a lot. As someone reminded me, cats and dogs back throughout the animal kingdom are extremely adept at hiding illness, hiding vulnerability. It's like an instinct of survival. If you show weakness in nature, that makes you prey for your enemies. So they're very, very good at hiding it. Sasha hid it from me. And when I did the show Monday, I thought she was fine. I really did. I thought she was just sleeping, but I started to notice things even after the show. On the next day, on Tuesday, I noticed she wasn't going to her litter box when I checked. And then I noticed I think it was I think the last time I saw her drink water was on Tuesday, and I think she was eating, but Wednesday, she did not eat or drink at all. She was just staying in she had a little basket in the kitchen. She was sleeping. She was just sleeping. And I noticed she was holding her head down and looking unusually weak. And I picked her up and she cried out in pain. And I thought, well, maybe she just rests. Maybe I just let her be. She'll be okay in the morning. And she wasn't. And there was that part of me that was, I don't want to say denial, but that, what do they call it? That, hi, Stephanie, I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry I'm not saying hi to people right now. This is a lot to talk about. What do they call it? Like Joan Didion said, magical thinking, where you so don't want it to be. And so even Thursday, Thursday is a show day with Dr. Whimsy and Joel Tilson when we do our Hot Topics Thursday, and I wanted to prepare, and do a little homework and everything. But I was already calling veterinarians. I was doing research. I was looking where to take her. I couldn't find anybody who would take her that day, a regular veterinary hospital. And I had the show to do, and I thought, okay, I'll do the show, and then I will take Sasha to a 24-hour center and find out what's going on. And I just never, in my wildest fathoming, did I know how sick she was. She had been hiding it from me. And, I've had trouble with fleas off and on. It's just, I don't know how they got in the apartment, but I've been keeping them under control. I've been putting Advantix medication on Sasha, which seemed to be working, but I had heard that fleas could induce anemia, weakness, but I'd never in my life heard of a pet dying from fleas. But I put her in the carrier. She was pretty weak. She cried out, and I picked her up. And I took her to a 24-hour veterinary hospital, and they were wonderful there. They treated me very, very well. I was treated with just complete compassion. I heard talk about this. I'm going to do my best to get through this. I'm going to do my best. I don't know if I will. But I took her in, and they weighed her, and then they took her off to another room to check her vitals. And they brought in some forms for me to sign, and I was thinking, oh my God, I had pet insurance, but I have a huge deductible. So I was already thinking about expenses and things. But, I've been there before with pets. You just say the hell with the money. You do whatever you have to do to save them. And I just thought, well, surely we'll save her. We'll do whatever we have to do, whatever's going on. I just wasn't expecting it when the veterinarian came in and said her vitals are very bad. And said her heart is barely beating. It looks like, based on what you're telling me and what we're seeing, her internal organs may be shutting down. And she said, look, we're not going to know until we run a whole series of tests. Offhand, we're seeing certainly what appears to be anemia, and certainly we can put her through transfusions. The veterinarian said, we have brought pets back, but it's very hard and it's unlikely. And I said, basically what you're telling me, it looks like we may have to euthanize her. And the veterinarian was wonderful with me. She said, well, to be absolutely honest, I think that is the best course here. And I was like, and I just, in my wildest fathoming, I was not expecting to be, when I was scooped my beloved Sasha up, and you know how I loved her. You saw her here on the show. You saw her even, I don't even know when the last time she was on here, but you saw how she looked healthy, vital, vibrant, jumping up and down. This was quick. And Whimsy, I'll go into what you told me, the reasons why, but it was, I was just in that moment. And I know others of you out there have been in this situation too. You're just in a state of shock. What do I do? And there's that part of me going, yes, put her through the treatments, give her the transfusions, save her life, do anything. And then I thought, also, what the vet said, it would just be prolonging her suffering and be putting her through so much. And I think I even said this last week on the show. We were talking about this, that pets, I did say this, actually, I believe. I was going to watch the show again from last week. I usually don't watch my shows, to be honest, but I was going to replay it just to see what I said, because I remember talking about it and it went by like a blur. But I did say that animals, I don't think they have a problem with transitioning the other side, because they're like, I've always thought of dogs and cats as being like angels, and cat hair and dog hair. They come here for a short time, 10, 15 years or so, which when we're adults, that's a blink of the eye. That goes by so fast. They come here to be with us for a while, and they know they're going back to the other side. They're just coming here for a while. It's almost like they're coming here for an extended visit or something. And I think, Whimsy, you even put it to me, it's kind of like a car ride. They come here for a ride. Sasha and I had a great ride, but we reached the destination and she had fulfilled her purpose and it was time to go. But animals will tell us when it's time to go. And I said last week, because I went through this with my previous cat. And Stephanie, we've talked about this because you've said similar things about your own cat. I believe it was Ferguson. You don't mind me saying his name. Ferguson. I loved Ferguson, your beautiful orange cat. Is sometimes we keep a pet alive longer than we should because it's out of our own needs. And it's actually maybe selfish when they just want to go. Charlie, my last cat, wanted to go. He was telling me that. He was making it loud and clear. It was like, it's okay. It's my time. But I couldn't bear to let him go. So I spent like $2,000 putting him through an operation, which only made him sicker. He never recovered from that surgery. He was so sick that, you know how they have to shave their paws so they can put in the IVs? He was so sick for the last 2 months of his life, his hair on his paw never even grew back. I was coming home from work. I was pureeing cat food in my blender, putting it in a syringe and shooting it down his mouth because he wouldn't eat anymore. He was giving me every sign it was time to go, and I wouldn't let him go. So I ended up prolonging his agony. And I didn't do that with Sasha. I mean, maybe I should have brought her in a day earlier, 2 days earlier, but it would have been the same thing where we've been putting her to sleep. There's a little more time with her. Maybe that was selfish on my part. But they handed me paperwork authorizing euthanasia. I had never euthanized a pet in my entire life. I was lucky in that respect that I got to this point in my life and never had to do that. Well, I guess sooner or later, any of us who have pets, we're going to have to go through it sometime or another. Or if we don't, when we're very, very, very lucky. My luck ran out here. I had a choice and I had to make it, and I knew it was the right thing to do. But when they handed me the pen, I thought, my God, I'm signing her life away. I'm signing her life away. And I started crying. I was a mess. I was the biggest mess. But they were wonderful with me. I guess because they've gone through it so many times. So many times. Whimsy, thank you for that comment, because I honestly don't know if I can do readings today. Thank you. How do I get my train of thought here? What was I saying? Yeah, I said that I'm sorry, I'm blanked out. I had the pen, signed the paper. Hello, cry there. And and said, when they brought Sasha back to me after they checked her vitals, they put her in a wonderful little cat bed and they wrapped her up in a blanket. And they said, you take all the time you want. We're 24 hours. You want to be up all night with her, it's okay. Take as long as you want. And so I spent a good hour. She was poor little thing was so weak. She was so weak. And I selfishly tried to pick her up one last time. And she cried. So I put her back down in the basket. And I was stroking her and I was petting her. And I just kept telling her I loved her. I loved her. I was thanking her for all she had done for me. I just kept telling her I loved her over and over and over and over. And I hope she was hearing it. And it was finally, I don't know, it was almost 11 p.m. at this point. So I say an hour, I don't know. It was a long time. And it's almost like the way I felt in doing this show today. Like, do I do a show? Do I not do a show? But I owe it to you to tell you so we can just get it all out and get it over with, so I don't have to keep talking about it. It was like that. I thought, there's never going to be a time I'm going to be ready. Never. If I stay here until 6 a.m, it's never going to be a time. It's got to be done. It's got to be done. And it was when she went to sleep. She was so weak. She was sleeping. And I thought, if we're going to do it, let's do it while she's asleep. And what they had given me was a little clicker, a little buzzer. And they said, when you're ready, just press the button and we'll come in. And I must have picked up that buzzer 15, 20 times before I hit the button. And she came in, and I had asked her before to explain the process to me. And she said, I promise you, it's very quick. It's very peaceful. We give one injection, it puts them to sleep, and then we immediately give the second injection that stops their heart. It's very fast, and there's no suffering. And I thought, well, okay, let's do it while she's asleep. And Sasha, that little Aries female, and Stephanie and Whimsy, and you, Joyce, the astrologer, you know what I'm talking about. Aries female energy, that stubborn defiance. All my life with Sasha, she was the most stubborn little thing. You know, she did things on her terms. And here I wanted to do it while she was sleeping. Whimsy's going, yep. And Stephanie and Whimsy, I love you both. I know your Aries energy, and Joyce, you understand it. Sasha, I lived literally with female Aries energy 24/7. And I wanted to do it with sleep. She was asleep. But you know what? The moment before I did it, she opened her eyes and woke up and gave me one last big look. I was like, stop, don't give it yet, don't give it yet. And she gave me that last look, looked right in my eyes, and then she closed her eyes and went back to sleep. And that's when we did it. And that's when I lost it. I lost it. But those vets and nurses see it all the time. They're compassionate, but they see it all the time. Probably very few who don't react that way, because it's a very special love. There's nothing like the love we get from an animal. It's the truest, blanking on the word now because I'm just so out of it right now. It's unconditional. Thank you. It's the most unconditional love you will ever know. I think most of you with pets will agree with me on that. I don't think we get that kind of unconditional love from any human being. I once, a very dear friend of mine, actually she's a rather famous friend of mine, I won't give her name, and she loves her daughter dearly. She'd put her life down for her own daughter, but she once admitted in private, she said, you know, sometimes if I had to choose who I love just a little more, my dog or my daughter, she said, well, sometimes my daughter can be a little bitch, but my dog, it's always love. And she might score just a few extra points there, you know. And I mean, she was joking, of course, but you know, I know what she meant. It's just an incredible love, and they're so loyal, they're so devoted. And I know with Sasha, it's also heartbreaking because they trust you. They completely trust you. Sasha was trusting me even then. But I know I did the right thing. I know I did the right thing. I put her out of her misery. Had I kept her alive, she would have suffered terribly and died soon anyway in her own terms. She was a little Aries female, very, very determined. She was going to go on her terms no matter what. And she was that way ever since she was a kitten. But I guess I'll digress to that. I'll get back to that in just a moment. But they said, well, what do you want to do with the body? And they said, well, we offer cremation services. And they showed me the price. Financially, I just couldn't do it. It was too much. It was like, I think like $350 cremator. And then there's some places they want hundreds of dollars more. And I knew the Pasadena SPCA did it for only $50. I know that because my last cat I brought there. And they were very kind and gracious. And they said, well, we will put her body in the freezer. We will keep her for you and you can pick her up in the morning. And that's what I did. I picked her up the next morning and I drove her out to Pasadena. And, God, I had not been there since 11 years earlier with my last cat when I brought him in to be cremated. And I thought, I can't believe I'm doing this again so soon, because the older we get, faster time goes, it was like I just brought her home as a kitten, a 10-week-old kitten. I can't believe I'm going back here and doing this again, going through this grief again, going through this whole process again. But this Pasadena SPCA, God bless them, again, very compassionate people. You know, people who work in places like that obviously love animals. These are beautiful people to begin with. And I always am treated well when I've gone there. And she said, would you like me to cut off a couple of locks of hair for you? And would you like a paw print? And yeah, I couldn't bear to open up the box. You know, she was sealed in a plastic bag in a box. I said, I don't want to look at her like that. She wouldn't want me to look at her like that. In fact, you know, whenever I've had a death in my family, I didn't want to see my mother. I didn't want to see my father. I didn't want to see my grandmother after they'd passed. I just thought I know they would not want that to be my last memory of them. My last memory, of course, was when Sasha did die. And then she passed away peacefully. And I even closed her little eyes. But her body was still warm and they took her away. But I didn't want to see her now frozen and dead in a plastic bag. So the woman did that. And then when she came back, she said, I hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of also doing a print of her nose and mouth also. And so she put that on a little card for me with 2 locks of Sasha's hair. That was very sweet. And then I'm certainly not getting a cat anytime soon. I mean, it could be months. It could be a year. I don't know. I'm just not emotionally ready for that. But I said, could I just walk back and look at the cats in the shelter just for therapy? And I went in there. Couldn't stay too long. Found out that was a big mistake. I practically had to run out of there. It was upsetting me so much. But I found a woman and her husband. And she saw me crying. And she said, did you just lose a pet? Mm-hmm. She said, me too. She said, we lost our cat 2 weeks ago. And we're just heartbroken. We're just so heartbroken right now. And we're here. We don't know if we're ready to get another cat, but we're just here looking at them right now. So I had a little talk with her. And because I had not been there in 11 years. I hope you don't mind me talking about all this, but it was a new wing added onto the SPCA just for cats. And it was like state of the art. It was so beautiful and modern and pristine. And it was called the Riley Center. And I saw a big photo plaque in the lobby as you went in. And it said, this is the Riley Center. And they showed this older man holding a Siamese cat that looked a lot like Sasha. And I don't remember the man's name, I'm ashamed to say, but he had left a huge amount of money in his will to the Pasadena SPCA specifically to build a cat center as a memorial to Riley, his cat, the Riley Center. And it said on the plaque that he and Riley had been inseparable for 18 years. And I understood. But what a beautiful, beautiful thing to do, a lasting memorial. And I was even thinking, because I know I'm not getting another cat for a long time. I know that already. I don't know. 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. I have no idea. But right now, I can't bear the thought of it. Just like when my last cat died, I couldn't bear the thought of that either. And for almost 6 months, it was just too soon. It was just, we all take our time to grieve and to mourn. And it's a process. And I don't need to go into all that because we've talked about this enough and plenty. We've all lost beloved people, beloved pets. We get that, but we know how it is, how it comes in cycles. You're fine for a while, and then it comes down on you like an ocean wave. And sometimes it feels like that ocean wave is going to drown you and pull you out to sea. and then pull you back in again. I don't know. It's just, you go with it. You live with it. You try to understand it. But I thought, because, and I've said this before, my dear Stephanie, I've said this to you, how I devoutly believe that you take that love in your heart that you gave to them, to that beloved pet, you take that same love you're holding and you give it to the next pet. The same love, you give it to that next pet. And that's how you honor the previous pet. They wouldn't want it any other way, because they know they come here for a short time. They know they're meant to move on. You're meant to go to another pet. They're fine with that. That doesn't do anything to break the existing bond that you had for them. Nothing. That bond will always be there. But I thought, I'm not ready for another cat. But when I saw that beautiful Riley Center in Pasadena, I thought, when I'm emotionally ready, I should volunteer once in a while and just give that love for Sasha and give it to all those other needy cats in there. And God only knows there are a lot of needy cats in a shelter. I saw them in there. I saw cute little kittens, and I saw one cat who looked like he snaggle-toothed and old and ornery, looking like he was on his last legs. And there was a part of me that thought, oh, adopt him. And then I saw the cute little kitten. I thought, no. You don't rush into something of that. You don't make decisions like that. And you're in an emotional state like that. You just don't do it. It was just like when my last cat died, I did the same thing. I went into the shelter and looked at the other cats, and there was this little black and white kitten, and put my finger in the cage, and he wrapped his paws around my finger. Take me home. And I almost did it, even though I knew it was not the thing to do. And the saving grace was I found out he was on hold. He'd already been adopted. So that was something looking out for me, because that would have been a mistake. And plus, it would have kept me from Sasha. She came into my life a few months later. And I was saying how she was such an ornery little Aries female. Might as well make this show about Sasha. I wanted another Siamese. Yes, I know all about how we should adopt. There are plenty of needy cats. You should not be going to a breeder, buying a cat. Well, those cats need homes too. And I've always loved Siamese cats since I was a child. You know what started my love? That Disney movie, That Darn Cat. Remember the Siamese cat and That Darn Cat? And then I think I even remember Cy and Am, the two cats in Lady and the Tramp. I don't know. From the time I was a kid, I always wanted a Siamese cat. And my mother was like, no, we're not getting a cat. No. And I finally wore my mother down. And it took a few years. But for my 11th birthday, I was given my very first Siamese kitten. And I just have always loved the breed because they're so intelligent and they're so emotional. They're so empathetic. They're so neurotic. They're such little drama queens. They basically have 10 personalities in one cat. And they're so exquisitely beautiful. On top of that, those beautiful blue eyes and the markings, and they're so poised and regal. I can go on and on why the only cat I've ever had in my life is Siamese. Sasha was my 5th Siamese cat in my life, and in a succession of Siamese cats. And I just knew when Charlie died so abruptly, I knew if I was going to get another cat, it was going to be a Siamese. Yes, I toyed with the idea of the shelters, and I had people talking to me. Yes, you should adopt a regular cat. Yes, and I know. Maybe one day, but I've just always loved them. But I think those of you who A lot of people don't understand it with cats, but they understand it with dogs. Lots of, people who love, say, a poodle or a German shepherd or a collie, they love the specific qualities of the breed of that dog. Well, that's the same thing with a Siamese cat. I just love the qualities of a Siamese cat. So I did a lot of research online. I just looking at Siamese cat breeders. And it turns out there aren't a lot of them anymore because the breed has become relatively rare. And the ones you find in the pet stores, those are really the ones you want to stay away from, unfortunately, because, the puppy mills, the horror stories of the puppy mills. And I made that mistake once in my youth of getting a puppy in a pet store. Huge mistake, because he apparently had been taken from his mother before he had his immune system had fully matured. So this little puppy that I got 9 weeks old died 2 weeks later from parvo. And he had all of his vaccinations. He was right up to date, every single vaccination, but he still died of parvo. And the vet said this is why his immune system was not developed. He said it happens all the time in these puppy mills, and it happens with cats too, purebred cats. Siamese cats have been seriously overbred. Pardon me, a little mucus. I'm crying. They are seriously inbred. And I learned this from Diane Kramer, the wonderful woman I got Sasha from, because she took great pains to avoid those breeding practices. And that's why I chose her. But she was telling me, like when you go into pet stores and you see those Siamese cats with those really narrow faces and those big ears like a Martian, she said that is from inbreeding. A Siamese cat, the way they originally looked, never looked like that. They're not supposed to look like that. And she said those cats often do not live more than 6 or 7 years. They're very frail. They're very sickly. And she said it's immoral to breed animals like that. It's cruelty. It's immoral. And she explained to me how she took great pains with her stud cats, with her mother cats, to do everything she could to ensure against all of that inbreeding. She was trying to breed Siamese cats the way they traditionally were when they first came to America and Europe in the mid 1800s. And she even, I'm trying to remember all of this now, but she even showed me, like she had DNA proof and genealogy proof that her cats were directly descended from those original Siamese cats that came over from Siam to America and Europe. And I can go on and on about Siamese cats in Siam, ancient Siam. They literally were used to guard the palace. It used to be the only way you could have a Siamese cat was if the king of Siam gifted it to you. It was a gift of royalty. And I often joked about Sasha, how she always acted royal and regal. And Diane told me that's in their DNA. That's in their blood. They know they're royal. They know they're regal. And Sasha never let me ever forget that. Shall I say the little bitch? The little bitch. She never let me forget that. But okay, I've talked about enough stuff on here. May sound crazy, but I was working with a really good psychic at the time. Any of us who are intuitives, you hear me do intuitive readings all the time. I do it for others. I do channel readings, but almost any intuitive I know will say it's very hard typically to read for our own selves. And I've always thought a lot of that's because our subconscious is too attached to the results of an answer. So that's why it's often hard for us to read. So I was working with a respected psychic at the time, and she was helping me to communicate with Charlie. And something that really freaked me out, and I knew it was real, one of the last things I ever said to Charlie before he died, in fact, I said it to him a number of times, but I said, you have honored me with your love. You honored me with your love. And I wish I thought to say that to Sasha before she died. Maybe I did say it. I don't remember, but she had to know it. But I said it to Charlie, you honored me with your love. And I didn't tell that to anyone that I recall. I certainly didn't tell it to my psychic. And I said, do you have a message from Charlie? And she paused and she said, yes. He wants you to know that you honored him with your love. No, he said that. She said, that's what he's saying to you. You honored him with your love. So I knew she was on track. That was him. And she said, he's fine over here on the other side. You know, that's the thing, you know, I've told you whenever I read for people, we always seem to get that. People are happy on the other side. It's a beautiful place. Everything is wonderful. Sasha, I know, is very happy right now. Whimsy helped me to confirm that, but I knew that anyway. Also, my dear friend Pam of Pomona Remembers in Canada, who's a brilliant psychic. She helped me a lot. And she said, oh, yeah, Sasha is just so happy to be out of that body. And she's beautiful and regal and just jumping through the flowers in heaven and happy. And she's watching over me and sending me love. But my psychic said that Charlie is actually looking for his replacement. He's looking for his successor for you because he cares very much. He knows how much you loved him and he wants to find just the right cat for you. And she said he was bringing little cat souls to me. And we certainly hadn't called her Sasha yet, but it was her. My psychic said she's picked you out. It's a female, and she's picked you out, and she's coming to you soon. And it wasn't long after that. See, Diane Kramer had put me on the waiting list because Siamese cats are so hard to get. She had quite a waiting list, but she had me down there, and I think Diane admitted to me she bumped me up the list a little bit because we talked a lot, and she knew how much I loved Siamese cats, and she knew how much grief I was, and she wanted me to have another. And anyway, I got a call not too long after that. What my psychic said, she's going to be soon. I got a call from Diane. Well, I've got a mother cat. She's pregnant, and the litter should be here in about a couple of months. And my psychic confirmed, yep. She incarnated. She's on her way. Yeah. And so, yeah, she was born on March 28th. March 28th, a little Aries, 2015. And of course, you have to wait for them to be old enough to take. But this worked out because I needed time. I needed time to grieve and heal. I needed those 6 months before I got another cat. So Diane was sending me videos, and I do readings for people and stuff. I know this, but nonetheless, I was asking my psychic at the time. I said, how am I going to know it's her? And she said, you're going to know. You're going to know. And sorry, my eyes are a little irritated. My contact lenses, she's seeing me blinking and stuff. She said, you will know. You are absolutely going to know. She is going to let you know. And when the litter was born, there were 2 males and there were 2 females. So it was a 50-50. I thought, I hope I'm not going to make a mistake here. It's one of those two little girls in there. It's going to be one of them. And then Diane said, there's this one kitten. She is headstrong and stubborn, and I've never seen anything like this before. She doesn't want anything to do with her siblings. She actually she'll only be with her mother long enough to be fed, and then she wanders off and goes into the kitchen and crawls in an open drawer, and she wants to be by herself. And I said, that's wild. I've never heard of that. And she said, yeah. She doesn't want anything to do with her siblings. She's like a little loner, a little lone wolf. Okay, I think I'm getting the message here. She's making herself stand out, so there's no way I'm gonna miss her. And then Diane sent me a little video on her phone. I mean, the cutest little kitten. Oh my God, I've still got that video somewhere. And you know how little kittens are, that that little sound they make. And she was sitting there and she started to get sleepy. Her head fell over and she fell off the table. It was like the funniest little thing, the little misfit. She fell asleep on camera. And I said, do I need to put a deposit down? Because I want you to hold her for me. And she said, oh, I'll hold her for you. Don't worry. I'll hold her for you. I said, that's the one. That's the one. I knew it. And I was told I had to wait 12 weeks. You know, Diane being very responsible, you know, she didn't take the kittens away until they were 12 weeks old and make sure their immune system was fully developed, unlike puppy mill, cat mill practices. You know, she was doing everything to make sure she gave a very healthy kitten to you. And it was going to be 12 weeks. And then Diane had a family emergency where she was going to have to leave and go to I think she had to fly back east for an extended time. And she said, look, I normally don't let kittens go this early, but I think they're going to be okay. The other 3 kittens are being shipped to different parts of the country. You're local. What do you want to do? And I said, well, I'll drive down to San Diego and I'll bring a carrier and everything. And that's what I did. It was like unexpected. It was going to be that soon, but I guess it was the time. Drove down to San Diego, and it was a nice chance to meet Diane, a wonderful, wonderful lady. And she doesn't watch this show, but I'm going to have to call her and tell her what happened, because I know she loved little Sasha. You know, so much so that when I met with her and it came time for her to give her to me, she started crying. And she said, I never get this emotional, but this is a special kitten. I got very attached to this kitten. And I said, Diane, on my word, I promise you, I'm going to give her the most beautiful life. And what's more, I'm going to send you pictures and videos for the rest of her life. I will let you see her life. And that's what I've done. I have faithfully, even if it's no more than Thanksgiving, Christmas, or Sasha's birthday, March 28th, or the anniversary of June 21st, and I picked her up, and there's a story there I'll tell you in a moment. Just blowing all this out right now. Trying to get my train of thought here. I would send her pictures and videos, and I said, I will always document her life. And Diane wrote me back and said, oh, she's happy. I see, she said, I know in their eyes, I know when they're happy. She's happy. I know you two were meant for each other. And I sensed that very strongly, that Diane told me she wanted to, obviously I named her Sasha, but she said, I wanted to keep Sasha and perhaps use her as a mother to breed kittens, because I thought she was so beautiful and so special. I was seriously considering that. But I knew in my heart that she belonged to you. I knew that. And she had to do the right thing, but she cried. I'm gonna write her a really nice letter, remind her of all of this. She handed her to me, and one of the things she said to me, now get ready, because this is a cat who's going to have a very strong say in your life. I was like, laughing about it a little. Oh no, Diane was serious, as I soon found out. As you all have known, whenever you've seen Sasha on this show, she had a very strong say in my life and in this apartment. She ran the show. I just paid the rent. And something that Michelle once said to me was, she said, and I thought it was just like a little joke, but she said to me, because I said, how we always ask a pet psychic, well, what does our pet really think of us? And get ready for the answer, like you suck, I don't like you. So no. But I said, what does Sasha really think of me? And she said, well, she loves you very much, I'll tell you that. But she thinks she's the master and you're her pet. And I was like, oh, that's funny. That's funny. And she said, Chuck, I'm not kidding you. I'm being serious. She thinks she is the master. She thinks it's her apartment. And you just happen to be her pet. A pet she loves very much, but nonetheless, you're her pet. That was funny. And after I finished talking to my psychic on the phone, I went up to Sasha and I looked her in the eyes and I thought, is that what you really think? And again, I said to her, you little bitch. You little bitch. That's what you think. But I had to laugh. Sasha was just so headstrong. She was so stubborn. And it was very much about her terms. And the other thing that Diane said to me, she said, Sasha is an adventurer. She's got an adventurous spirit in her. Well, I certainly soon found out what that meant. Finding Sasha walking across my curtain rods late at night, hearing my kitchen cabinets open up during the night, and finding her in the top shelf throwing cans on the floor. Bam, bam, bam. She was always getting into things. I'd open up my closet. She would fly for the closet and run to the far back of the closet where I couldn't get access to her. She was always doing little things like that. But one thing she never, ever, ever tried to do was run out my door, which in itself is remarkable, because, cats and dogs are free spirits. It's almost in their nature to try to run out the door and run outside. Sasha was strictly an indoor cat and strictly indoor from the day she was born. So I didn't find it cruel because she had never known any other life but indoors. And as I said once here on the show, I didn't want her experiencing the outdoors because in where I live, we have coyotes, we have raccoons, we have skunks, we have snakes. I also live close to a busy intersection, a 24-hour intersection with cars going constantly. It just was not safe. And also, unfortunately, when you live in a city like Los Angeles, a purebred Siamese cat like Sasha, somebody would have seen her and probably picked her up and stolen her. As we know, that happens. We've had problems here with French bulldogs being stolen. I haven't heard about it lately, but there was a real epidemic of that going on here. There were actually people held up at gunpoint walking the French bulldogs, having their dogs stolen from them. And, to me, that you want to talk about immoral, unconscionable. It's devastating for the owner, but it's devastating for the dog. They don't understand. They don't understand. Who's this person taking me away? Why am I being taken away from my home? What's going on? What's going on? Why am I not being fed my regular food? On and on and on. They don't get it. It has to be so traumatic for the pet. And so I always worried about things like that. Even Sasha being stolen, anything. I just wanted her to be an indoor cat, but she understood it. She was fine with it. She never once tried to run out the door, ever. I could have my door wide open and she'd sit here and not move. I know she loved her home. I know that. I have great peace in the fact she loved her home. I wanted her to have a very beautiful and happy home. And I do hope I succeeded in that. I tried my very best. I just loved that cat with all my heart. She was like a child to me, and she was my companion. She was my muse. When I made art, I always joke when I'd say muse, I'd always say, well, it's spelled MEWS, muse, but she was my muse. She was my inspiration. I'm realizing now that she's gone, she was a source of strength to me, a source of inspiration, a reminder of what unconditional love looks like. I guess we all need those little booster shots from time to time. No matter what my mood was, she knew me. That when animals live with us 24/7, they know all of our little quirks, all of our little idiosyncrasies. They know our little hissy fits, our mood swings. The side that we never show to anybody else. The side of us when we're home, we're walking around naked or in our underwear, or we're just being a slob, or we're in a bad mood, like, oh, goddamn this, goddamn that, oh, fuck that. They just love us. They just love us for what we are. And I used to always joke, well, it's kind of a joke and it's not a joke. I'd say, well, thank God our pets can't talk, because the things they could say about us, the things they know about us, they're around us 24/7, and they're observers. Cats are extremely observant. They're extremely intuitive. They pick up on our moods. But Sasha, she put up with me, and there were so many times, like, we've all gone through this, when we're sad, we just need consoling. She'd just come over and just hold me. And I've had other cats do that too. I remember this one time, it was something I was very, very sad about. Just sad. And it was, well, in fact, it was Sophie. It was the cat I mentioned that died 25 years ago, and how I still miss her 25 years later. And I even went so far as to say, yes, this is hoarding, I know, but I have a jacket hanging in my closet that I'd love to wear again. I'd love to get dry cleaned, but I can't, because it's got her cat hair. Yes, over 25 years ago. It's got her cat hair all over it. It's still in the closet. It'll probably be there to my dying day or whatever, but I can't bear to clean that jacket. It's like the last thing I have of her is that cat hair on there. Okay. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we all do things. We all have our little things. And anyway, I was very, very sad. And I went to sleep, and I woke up some during the night, and there she was right on my chest, and she was looking deep into my eyes. Deep, just would not stop guarding me. And I went back to sleep. 2 or 3 hours later, woke up. She was still there, still looking straight at me, still guarding me. Went to sleep again, woke up, still guarding me. She would not leave me. She was there on my chest. She was there on my chest guarding me. That's that's the way they are. I guess we're their entire world, but they love us so much, and they're our protectors. Our dogs and cats are our protectors, and they do the best they can. They do everything that they know to do. Like it's been said that a cat's purr is healing. It's comforting. It's healing. Like when they get on our chest and they purr, it's very healing. I've certainly gone through that. And what? Boy, I did not expect this show to be a whole cat show, but I guess it was only natural it was going to be. It had to be. And I guess I'm glad I went on here, and I'm telling you about this. Very different show today, but so what? This very different circumstances. And anyway, Sophie, I'll tell you how much she loved me. When cats give birth, I'm told this anyway, that they typically do not want to be around human beings. They will only they go into hiding. They find a very remote place because they want to be where they know they are 100% safe. Well, the story was Sophie. Yes, you're wondering, how did Sophie get pregnant? Well, it was because I had put off spaying her. I should have spayed her earlier. I hadn't done it yet. And yes, I was already putting up with her going into heat. And anybody's ever had a cat in heat knows it's not fun. Yeah, it's like that. Anyone's ever gone through it? Anyway, she went into heat. And anyway, I had a roommate at the time. This was many, many years ago. I was in my 20s, and the roommate let her out the door. She was gone for about a week. Came back. I gave her a flea bath, cleaned her up, fed her. And then, her little belly started growing. After about a month, I was like, oh no. Yeah, she got knocked up. She was pregnant. And anyway, I had read that about how they would go off in hiding. They avoid humans. I don't know if that's true. That's what I read. I woke up in bed. On my chest, Sophie had given birth right on top of me while I was asleep. And I talked to some people who knew things about cats, and they said, your cat just paid you the highest possible compliment. She was saying, I don't feel safer anywhere than I am with you. So she gave birth on me while I was asleep. She wanted to be where she was safe. You see why I keep a jacket with her cat hair on it to this day hanging in my closet? I cannot bear to get rid of the jacket or even clean it. So yeah, I get very, very close to my pets. Oh, hi, Pam. Thank you. I just saw in here. Forgive me for missing all your comments here. I'm just talking away, but anyway, I think I said that, Sasha's very determined. She picked me out from the spirit world. Charlie, my last cat, had a hand in that. And she came here very, very stubborn, quite the adventurer. Very rambunctious little kitten, sweet as could be, but rambunctious and destructive. My living room rug, one day I will replace it, but I've got holes that she dug into my rug. I have on my leg, I'm not going to show my inner thigh on camera here, but one day I was here on the couch wearing shorts, and most of us have had cats have gone through this, where they jump up, hey Dad, here I am, jumped up, her claws went right down the side of my thigh. To this day, I have claw mark scars on my leg. No big deal or anything. I don't care about some scars, but I have scars. And I was looking at that today and I thought, well, Sasha left her mark on me. She left me something as a way of saying, you'll never forget me. I left you a memento, but she left it on my body, but she left plenty of mementos here. My rug is full of, just literally dug holes in the rug where there's nothing but like the weave, where the fiber had been. She dug straight through. And some of those things I didn't discover until after the fact when I lifted up chairs. When I saw those things, I had a crystal lamp in my hallway that one night I heard crash. This was when she was a kitten, and smashed the lamp. I got very mad. I yelled at her. Poor little thing sulked for 2 days. It was almost like she was going, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. If you ever seen that with your own dogs and cats where they'll sulk and they'll apologize. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. That's what she was. She was so sincerely sorry she had done it. And I was sorry I'd yelled at her, but it was in the heat of the moment. But the things that go through your mind, when we've had, excuse me, I'm just going to get something to drink here. Very hot day today. The things that go through your mind, and part of me feeling very ashamed that things like this were going through my mind. But maybe others, you have your own stories when you've had a loved one die. It's just, we all react in strange ways. I told the story the night I got the news my mother died. I blurted out, I went into a very primal place. And I blurted out to my sister, I got to talk to Carol Burnett. And my sister was like, what? And I was even, why did I say that? Well, the thing is, now I've told this story. I won't go into it in great detail, but Carol Burnett always comforted me and nurtured me as a kid when I'd watch her show. I associated Carol Burnett with safety and security. I had a really unhappy childhood. I was very bullied. My mother was emotionally abusive. God bless her. My mother did the best she could, but she was a mentally ill woman. I took a lot of psychological abuse. I was badly bullied. I didn't have friends. So people like Carol Burnett were my friends. So it was just the most surprising thing when my mother died. And I blurted that out. I need to talk to Carol Burnett. And as you all know, 10 days later, I did meet Carol Burnett and talk to her about my mother. And Carol Burnett was amazing and hugged me and cried with me. And that's where I really learned that a prayer doesn't have to be a prayer. Sometimes when you're in a really sincere place like that and you make a plea, a heartfelt plea, it gets heard. Something happened for me to meet Carol Burnett 10 days later after I said that. And it was amazing because my mother died on the East Coast, 3,000 miles away. She specifically did not want a funeral. She specifically did not want a memorial service. She just wanted to be cremated, or as my mother said, strike the match and burn me up. That's all I want. Burn me up. So my poor grief-stricken father was saying, my father was a very practical man. And so he was just saying, well, what do you want to fly back here for? There's nothing to come here for. There's no funeral or anything or memorial. There's nothing to come here for. And so I was out here in California, just so grief stricken. And those of us who have gone through it, it's like you're underwater and you're lost. And I've always been somebody who needs closure, something, a ritual closure. I didn't have it. And it was that time with Carol Burnett. I always say that was my memorial service and closure with my mother, because that had been a wish of mine since I was a kid to meet her. And I got my wish on the spot. And my Carol Burnett played Eunice. Well, my mother was the real life Eunice. I mean, my mother had that same Southern accent. She had that same hairdo. She had that same personality. It was like Carol Burnett was playing my mother. And when I got to talk about that with Carol Burnett, how I said, you helped me to understand my mother and in compassion, and even to laugh a little through your character of Eunice. And Carol Burnett was like, she was just crying and holding me, and it was just, it was beautiful. But I didn't mean to sidetrack there, but just to say how the primal things come out of us. So I promise this gets back to Sasha. It gets back to Sasha. I euthanized her 11 o'clock at night. Boy, this is a weird show today, isn't it? Thank you for putting up with me. I euthanized her because I had a clock on the wall. So it was almost exactly 11 o'clock when I euthanized her. And I told you that was the last thing in the world I was expecting to do. I never in my wildest fathoming did I think when I put her in that carrier, that was the last time she was ever going to be in this home. And I was not going to have a cat to bring home. Or at the very least, I thought she'd be hospitalized or something. So coming home that night, my home has never felt more empty. It just felt desolate and empty in here, like a tomb. And I was just processing it. And as I said, weird stuff comes up. Then I promise I'll get to your comments and thank you personally for what you're saying to me. But weird stuff is coming up. There were a lot of sacrifices I had to make for Sasha, as we all do when we have pets, and we do it gladly. But little things like, do you know, in all the years I had Sasha, I could never hang towels in my bathroom on the rack. Never. Maybe when company would come over, I'd put one towel on the rack and pray it would be left alone. Sasha destroyed towels. Once I bought some beautiful new towels at Target, put them on the rack. I thought, well, maybe this will be okay. Literally 2 hours later, my brand new towels were shredded. She shredded those towels. I could never put towels up. In fact, the first year I had Sasha, do you know I could not put toilet paper on the roller? I had to keep toilet paper on an upper shelf because you know what cats do? That thing. She would just unroll the whole toilet paper. And for a long time, I couldn't put paper towels on the roller in the kitchen because guess what I'd come to in the morning? A whole string of paper towels unrolled on the floor. My rug, I had a really nice rug in here. I emphasize had. It's still on the floor here, but over time she just worked her way through it. I have three. What am I saying? I have 3 leather chairs that I've had for a long time that I love. Just beautiful, beautiful leather chairs. Well, guess what? I had no choice but to put heavy blankets over those chairs. For the 11 years I had Sasha, I might as well have had old beat up cloth chairs from Goodwill with the blankets over them. You never would have known I had beautiful leather chairs. I had to cover them up to save them so they wouldn't get destroyed. With Sasha, see what the things I was thinking about. Oh, wow. I went to Trader Joe's the next night, where they sell the inexpensive fresh cut flowers. I hadn't been able to have fresh cut flowers for 11 years because you know why? The one time I tried it, found the vase shattered. I found water all over the floor and I found the flowers chewed to bits. Thank goodness they weren't poisonous. So I could never have fresh cut flowers. I could never have houseplants because she'd destroy those. See what I mean about my little Aries female? Determined. I could never put candles out. Otherwise, I was going to risk burning down the whole building because Sasha would take her paw and start batting at the flame. And I was like, Sasha, stop that. Stop that. I thought, oh, that's all I need for her to catch on fire. And then, oh, no, I'm sorry for even saying that one. But nonetheless, I was at risk of her causing a major house fire anytime. So I could never have candles. I could never have fresh cut flowers. I could never have houseplants. I could never enjoy my leather chairs. I could never put towels on my rack. I could anything delicate like a glass vase or anything. Oh, that was out of the question. And then the few things I would put out like that, I'd have to take earthquake putty, glue them down, or I'd have to take nylon fishing line and tie them down. Otherwise, everything was going to end up in the floor. And that said, I would happily do it all over again. And I'd still happily do it now if my darling little Sasha were here. She was more important than any of that. You know what I mean? You know, as I was even saying that, I was just saying, well, those are things that came to me I can do now. And also, it occurred to me I can even travel more freely now. As you know, I was in Europe 3 months ago with the wonderful Dr. Whimsy Anderson. And we knew that, because Whimsy is just, frankly, the best intuitive psychic I've ever known in my life. That's just the truth. And she specializes in heart-centered remote viewing. And when we were in Europe, she was picking up that Sasha was not doing well. I mean, not sick, but not doing well without me. She couldn't understand why I had left. She thought I had abandoned her. I had ditched her. Whimsy was picking up that Sasha was racking her little cat brain, like, where did he go? What did I do? How did I drive him away? And, my dear friend Anastasia, she's been here on the show, and she was taking care of Sasha because I wanted someone that Sasha knew very well. And I thought that was going to make the difference. I thought, okay, she'll see a familiar face, someone she knows. No. Sasha, I was her world. And she had never been left. She had once been left for 4 days when I went to Fairmount, Indiana, where my artwork is, James Dean's hometown. She handled that okay, 4 days, but that was when she was a lot younger. But now she didn't handle it well at all. She was deeply, deeply depressed. Anastasia would tell me, oh, Chuck, it's like she's given up on life. What do we do? And Whimsy made the suggestion that I record videos on my phone in Europe and send them so Anastasia could play them. And Anastasia would play them on a loop. Just hold the phone up to Sasha. And she said Sasha definitely reacted. Definitely was watching the phone, perking up, hearing my voice. And she said it would soothe her. And I was just saying things like, well, there's my little girl. There's my little Sasha. I love you. And Whimsy told me to even tell her, you've done nothing wrong. You've done nothing wrong. Just daddy needs to be away for a while. I'm going to be home. I'll even bring you a little present back from Italy. I'll bring you a little cat toy from Italy. It's things like that. But when I did get back, and first thing I did, I went to her and I just held her and I took a picture, which I've shown to very few people. I don't have it here. I don't think I'm going to show it right now, but the people I did send it to, Pam, I don't remember if I sent it to you. Whimsy, I definitely sent it to you. And forget who else. I didn't show it to many, but I've never seen a cat look like they're crying. I took a picture of us together, and I swear it looked like she had tears in her eyes. She was crying, and she was so overjoyed with emotion and tears to see me again. And from that point on, she just clung to me. And I did a show the week after I got back, and that's the show. And I've got to find that, because that's going to be like my last big remembrance of her. You may remember she was just all over the place. I kept having to pick her up because she kept trying to jump on the keyboard, and she was wanting to hold me, show me off. Let me be on camera. Okay. Now take me off camera. I don't want to be on camera anymore. Okay. Now I want to be on camera again. She was like that. And when I was doing the readings for people, I have this little lap desk here. She was like, boom, flying across the desk. Cards were flying up in the air. I was trying to focus on readings for people. try focusing when you've got a wild Siamese cat who's enamored and acting like I had put espresso in her water dish. She was that hyped up and she had so much energy. And at that time, in my wildest fathomings, I never, ever, ever, ever would have expected that I was on borrowed time with her. Right up to you saw me do the show last Monday. And I just said, oh, she's all sleeping in the kitchen. I had no idea. And it's so uncanny that we talked about this very subject with, people saying what it was like to lose their pet or their loved one. And we were going back and forth on this. And God, I haven't been acknowledging all of you people in your comments here. But let's see here. People sending me heartfelt love and sympathy. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Well, one person asking for a little guidance here, but yeah, thank you, Whimsy, for chiming in. You said, I see your comment now. Chuck's cat, Sasha, has died. I don't think we will be doing readings today, and I thank you for looking out for me. And Joyce, in fact, Joyce, you were the one. Because so much has been going on since Thursday night, and I've just been, frankly, in and out of states of shock and grief. And there are a lot of people I haven't told because I simply couldn't. Like Whimsy, I couldn't talk to you about it until yesterday. I just couldn't talk about it. It was just killing me. And Joyce, I realized like 5 minutes before the show, I hadn't told you. And I thought, oh, I can't have you just finding out on the show. I better warn you. So I sent you a text saying, well, Sasha had to be euthanized. And, and Kelly, thank you for saying that. I know what you're referring to. There's no doubt that Sasha heard and knew that I loved her. Yeah, she was so weak, but those beautiful little blue eyes, I took pictures. I won't share those. Sasha was so ill, but I took some last pictures of her, and I took some very last video. And boy, I made the mistake of looking at that. God, I lost it. It was hard. And but I'm not reading off names here, but please know I love you, and I'm grateful to every one of you for the love you're sending to me. And people like Kristen, you said, we know exactly how you feel. Yeah, any of us have gone through this. We all know this. Like I said, the woman in the Riley cat shelter in Pasadena, I told you how she and her husband had just lost their cat. And everybody I talk to who's gone through this, maybe there probably are support groups for people like us, but most people I talk to, we will admit it to each other. This was like losing a person. This was as profound as losing a person. And then I've had people go, oh, I'm so ashamed to say that. That's so wrong to say that. We shouldn't say that. But hey, they're souls too. And they were gifts to our lives. And we as pet owners, we get it. We get it. We understand each other, and we can confess that to each other. And of course, here I'm confessing it to all of you right now, but I think you know my heart well enough. And I had Sasha on here enough times. You saw. I don't think any of you ever doubted the love between the two of us. That cat, she was more than a cat to me, and I guess I can say that about any pet I've ever had. But she was so intelligent, and she had such personality, and she was so headstrong, and sometimes she could really be destructive. And she controlled my life, as I said, the things I couldn't have when she was here. But I never doubted the powerful love she had for me and the devotion, and I never doubted she would have laid her life down for me. She was fiercely loyal. And I've always suspected I was meant to live with Aries female energy for 11 years for all that entailed. for all that entailed. Oh, Kristen, you're saying it took us 2 years before we could get a friend for our older cat. I'm kind of like that right now, because getting back to what I was saying about travel. Yeah, I got off subject there. I got off track, talking about how badly Sasha took my being away. Well, I'm Dr. Whimsy and we have some important work we need to do in person, and I'm likely going to go up to Portland in about 2 or 3 weeks or so. When we know the time is right, we have some important things to do. Well, things like that would have been a huge concern for me. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do with Sasha? Can I get on? Is Sasha come here and take care of her? Is Sasha going to be okay? Well, now I don't have to address those things. And if indeed there is to be more travel in my life, which I've been suspecting, maybe Sasha in her own little way was saying, well, I've done what I need to do, and it's fine. I need to go to the other side now. And I need to free you up so you can do some things. And Whimsy helped me with that yesterday. Whimsy was very, very gracious. I don't know if you're still here, Whimsy, or not, but it really helped me, because I was going through huge guilt and shame. Huge. And I mean, we all, we hear this all the time, with a loved one passing or something. I could have done more. I feel so guilty. I feel so ashamed. And of course, everybody goes, oh, but you did the best you could do. We know how that goes. We all have been on both sides of that. And it's not that it's insincere, but because it did happen so suddenly. I don't even remember now if I said what it was. It turns out, well, yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But Whimsy confirmed to me, she's a gifted medical intuitive, that it very likely was feline lymphoma. And Sasha was even telling her that it was colon cancer, a tumor in her colon. And Whimsy was telling me that it's a form of cancer that comes quickly. And many times cats die within 4 weeks of being diagnosed. And also cats and dogs are very good at hiding sickness. I mentioned that earlier in the show. Animals innately will hide their illness. It goes from their days of being in the wild, when they don't want to be vulnerable to being prey, attacked by their enemies. So they don't want to show their sickness. Sasha hid it very well for me. I didn't have a clue until the last 3 days or so. Didn't have a clue. The week before, she seemed to be just fine. It was only when she started to get really weak and I saw that she wasn't eating or drinking anymore, not going to her litter box. And then when she started crying in pain, I immediately sensed she had an intestinal blockage of some kind. And that often happens. And something broke down her immune system. Whimsy seemed to think that she may have contracted a virus of some kind. In other words, there was nothing I could have done, even if I had taken her to the vet. The most we could have done, if I had taken her to the vet a day or two earlier, it would have just been euthanasia again, perhaps. And I'm just thinking this right now, just getting the hit, that had I brought her in and she'd been a little healthier, I may have decided against euthanasia and say, no, let's save her. Let me get my pet insurance people on the phone. Let's see if they're going to cover this. And if it's just the deductible, let's put her through the treatments. And I would have put that poor cat through a lot of suffering, because they would have inevitably have diagnosed her for what it was. And it might have been a few days later, and then we would have still faced the same decision. So I don't know, things worked out as they did. And Whimsy, my dear, dear friend, assured me that I did the right thing. And Sasha assured me that I did the right thing. She was saying, I'm happy. You did the right thing. You set me free. And I'll still be here with you. I'll still be guiding you. I'll still be loving you. I'll still come and visit you. Sit in the favorite chair over here. I'll still be here. Only now she doesn't have claws to destroy the chair. Though in spirit form, I wouldn't put it beyond her to find a way, as stubborn as she was. And, oh, you know what else? Whimsy said, any of you who know Dr. Whimsy know she's the real deal. She is extraordinary. You know, Whimsy's the one that I'm her assistant in real life, make all these phone calls across the country for her and other things. And we traveled together and we do 2 shows a week together, you know, Taco Tuesdays and Hot Topics Thursdays, you know, her and Joel Tilson on the Oracle Whimsy channel. Might as well plug it here, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. You've seen her work, you know, her own videos. And she said, you know what's interesting? Sasha's a little chatterbox. Now that she's on the other side, she can talk. She can talk. She's basically saying, now I can talk to you. Now you'll hear me. You'll hear me. I have plenty to say to you. I have plenty to talk about. But when she said she's like a chatterbox, blah, 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 and I thought, you know, that kind of sounds like Sasha's personality. Remember how I said at the beginning of the show, it's a good thing our pets can't talk? The secrets they know about us, the things they've seen. Oh, that's what I mean. It's just a myriad of emotions and feelings. You cry, you laugh, you grieve. I felt guilt and sorrow. And I mean, I did feel guilt and sorrow. It was intense. I just really thought I'd let Sasha down. And I thought, if this is my fault in any way, how am I going to live with myself? And I was assured I did everything I could. I did. It's okay. Because I was even saying out loud, Sasha, if you're listening, forgive me if I wasn't enough. I was certainly doing that when I came home that night. I had my empty cat carrier and this empty home. I just kept saying over, forgive me. And the next morning when she wasn't here to greet me, and I looked into the kitchen where she usually would sleep, and of course there was nothing there but an empty basket. Oh, that was hard. That was so very hard. And we know that. And we process it, but I guess it's been good for me to do this show and just talk about it and let all this out. And oh, hi, let me see, Kristen, just Misky. I'm sorry for your loss. Love you had for Sasha was so powerful. We all felt it. Oh, I feel my pain now, sending love and healing to you. And certainly I didn't want this to be a show that I was spreading pain to people, you know, but this is the thing. It's like a little family. It's like a tribe. It's been like that with the shows that I do with Dr. Whimsy. And a lot of the people who watch that show and watch the show are people that who are her clients and I've talked to on the phone. I've gotten to know some of you personally. It's like a family. And as a family, sometimes we have to cry on each other's shoulders and be vulnerable with each other. And I thank you for indulging me today. Marjorie Dijon, I'm so sorry for your loss and wish you much peace and comfort. From Margie, thank you. And let me scroll here. Forgive me if I'm missing people today. I'm getting your love and I'm appreciating you. That's fair. I just read what happened. I'm so sorry and sad. Oh, and of course, my dear friend Pam is here. Pomona remembers. Oh, thank you, Pat Sparrow. She was so blessed to have you, to love her. Well, I was blessed to have her to love me. The blessing was mine to have. And Chris, I'm so sorry not to get to you earlier. I saw you commented. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. You're sorry for my loss, but happy for the joy she brought me. And I will focus on that. I'm striving to focus on the gifts, because there are many gifts. And even if some of those gifts are the fact that I can hang up bathroom towels again, and not put blankets in my leather chairs and not have more holes dug in my rug. And did I mention that in the 11 years I had Sasha, I couldn't have a Christmas tree. She wouldn't let me. She destroyed, whenever I tried to put up a Christmas tree, she would climb up it and destroy it. I had a beautiful artificial tree, and I have ornaments. I'm a Cancer. I'm sentimental. I have ornaments going back to my childhood. I have beautiful ornaments collected over the years, because my big secret has always been, you wait till the day after Christmas when they mark them, like sometimes like 80% off, like these outrageously expensive ornaments that suddenly you can have for like $10. So over the years, I have this collection of beautiful, beautiful ornaments and sentimental ornaments. And every year I loved putting up that beautiful Christmas tree. First year I had Sasha, well, I quickly saw that was not going to ever be possible again. She was climbing up it, bending all the branches down, and I'd hear expensive ornaments crash, tinkle, 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 broken ornaments on the floor, and I'd step on those barefoot. Anyway, I tried again the next year, and same thing over again. And I thought, this isn't going to work. So I could never have my Christmas tree. Ironically, this is going to be the first year I can have a Christmas tree again. But again, as I said, I'd do it all over again. I'd happily continue sacrificing to have that beautiful, sweet little cat here. But those are the things. That's where I am right now. Wild. And let me go to the comments in Rock and Pony Ladies here. Patsborough, feels like we all lost her too, or she was part of your show. Yes. She could be a little hellraiser, and she could be annoying. And I can't tell you how many times she almost disconnected the show. You would have had a blank screen when she would lunge for the keyboard, and I'd have to grab her and hold her down to keep her from turning the show off. But we can laugh about things like that. We can laugh. And I guess one of the, hi Amherst, thank you for being here. I guess by now you've heard about Sasha and everything I'm saying. And I was afraid I was going to have to keep repeating the story over and over as new people came on. I guess in a way I have, because that's all I've talked about for the last hour and 37 minutes. But I guess the last thing I can say about Sasha is something very phenomenal about summer solstice. Was it June 20th? Forgive me, I'm blanking. It's June 20th or June 21st. All I know is it's the day of summer solstice, first day of summer, the longest day of the year. 3 times in my life, I've been told up 3 fingers. Good thing I didn't hold up the middle. Anyway, 3 times in my life, I've had a pet come into my life on the day of summer solstice, and specifically at sundown. And just by happenstance, not by any planning whatsoever. I think did I tell this? I'm sure I've told it. I've repeated stories, but my first time it happened, I was 14 years old, and I received we had just had a dog die. So my mom said, for your 14th birthday, we'll get you a new dog. You pick out whatever you want. Of course, she was wanting me to pick out something different. She was not happy with what I chose. And I didn't expect to choose this dog either. You know how our pets choose us? Well, that's what happened. We went to this, we were in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on vacation at the time. And we heard about this dog breeder who had all these different breeds of dogs. I've never seen such a menagerie of different types of dogs. And I can't remember. Maybe she didn't breed them, or she took them in, or what. I forget what the story was. But I mean, there were collies, there were German shepherds, there were poodles, there were Shih Tzus. I'm just trying to think of dog breeds, dachshunds. It must have been like 20, 30 different dog breeds there. And so I really had a choice. And I wasn't planning on a Boston Terrier. I honestly wasn't. But there was this one dog, the woman who was running, she said, "Oh, let me show you this little sweet little girl. She's just so cute." Picked her up, and oh my God, it was like a bond, like a strike of lightning. She looked at me, I looked at her, and I picked her, and she just started licking my face and just loving me like, "I'm yours, I'm yours, I'm yours." And it was just like, there was just no question. And my mom did not want that dog. I could tell. But this is the one. We got to take her. I cannot leave here without her. And she was a year-old Boston Terrier. And I think my mother wanted a different dog, and she wanted a male dog and something younger, like a puppy. But I was so insistent. So it was something like sundown. It was like evening time, like 7 o'clock-ish or so. It was in the evening, sun setting, when I got her. And then flash forward, was how many years ago? This was 13 years later, when I was out here. I was grown. I was out here in California. And remember I mentioned earlier about the little 9-week-old puppy that died, the puppy mill dog that died of parvo despite having 2 rounds of vaccinations, but had a compromised immune system because he'd been taken away from his mother too soon. Again, watch out for puppy mill dogs and cats. Avoid them. Most of those breeders are very unscrupulous and immoral in what they do. Now, I'm going to say everybody. I'm not going to lump them together, but I had a bad experience, personal. But anyway, the blessing that came out of that was I had a very dear friend, a great animal lover, and he said, because I was there crying, my little puppy died, and we did everything to save him and all that. And he said, "Well, I know of a couple, they have a Cocker Spaniel they need to find a home for. Grown dog, are you okay with that? Your Cocker Spaniel. And they need to find a home." And I said, okay. I got talked into it, and I drove down to the Studio City in the Valley, and I ring the doorbell. The door opens. The most beautiful Cocker Spaniel I'd ever seen in my life, black and white, just gorgeous. And she ran to the door, ran right to me, like, here I am. Like, she already knew. Animals are intuitive. She knew. It's like, well, here you are. I was waiting on you. Here I am. And I was like, well, surely they're not giving this dog away. That was the dog. And they told me that the reason they had to give her away, because they had another dog. And they said that her name was Patches. I never would have named a dog Patches. I did not like the name Patches, but that's what her name was, because she had black and white patches on her. Turned out that didn't matter. I loved that dog like crazy. But anyway, they said Patches keeps eating the other dog's food, and our other dog is starving. She's wasting away and starving because we can't keep her away. Even we put her in another room or something, Patches manages to steal her food. We've got to find another home for her. So anyway, as you already know, I'm going to say it was summer solstice. The sun was setting in the sky. Here was another little black and white female dog, like my Boston Terrier, black and white female. And here I opened the car door up. She just jumped in and said, okay, let's go home. She just jumped in the car like she was ready to go. And I brought her home, and she was so happy, and she just acclimated right away, like she'd always been there. So again, flash forward many years, when it came time to get Sasha. Now, Siamese are not literally black and white. They're actually seal brown and cream colored, but similar, dark and light. And another little female. And I go down there to San Diego, pick her up, and by the time it's time to go home, summer solstice, sun was setting in the sky. So that's happened to me 3 times in my life, summer solstice and sunset, where an incredible little female dark and light pet came into my life. 2 dogs and 1 cat. Little phenomenon there. You know, I always make that part of the theme of the show, and so let's work that in there. So I guess I've talked myself out. You know, thank you for respecting. Today would not have been a good day to do readings, and I thank Whimsy for even putting that in there. I emotionally, this just would not have been a good time, and I'll be in a better place next week for you. I'm sure I'll be in a better place tomorrow also. I thank you for all the love, and I thank you for you're even saying that you felt like Sasha's your loss also. She's just extraordinary. And what was this, Katem? Hoping the coming weeks bring you peace and healing. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure, you know, I'm even doing better after that talk with Whimsy yesterday. And Pam, you helped me a lot also. And Stephanie and Tammy, thank you for your love. You know, I didn't tell too many people. You know, I'm now starting to tell people about it. And the reason I didn't tell people is because I just couldn't. I knew I was going to fall apart if I started talking about it. So I had to just wait until now. I almost did not do this show. And Pam even made a wonderful suggestion to me that in lieu of a live show, that I just make a video and maybe make it a tribute to Sasha and have some pictures and tell a few stories. But I thought, yeah, it's like when I was sitting there and I knew I had to do it, put her, just euthanize her. I knew I could stay there all night if I wanted. I knew it had to be done. Let's do it. Let's just get it over with. It's got to be done. And I started to feel that way about the show today. I thought, you know, I can put off the show today, but I'm going to be doing the 2 shows tomorrow and Thursday with Whimsy and Joel. And I thought, I'm going to be here next week. It's got to be talked about. Can't just pretend it's not here. What do I do when one of you said, well, how's Sasha? How's Sasha doing? What kind of answer was I going to give? You know, I thought about that. Thought that someone's going to ask about Sasha. I've got to answer it. So I just thought, okay, let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's just get it over with. So I'm going to sign out soon, unless any of you have any comments or anything you wanted to say to me, questions or anything. I'm not going to do readings tonight, but if you wanted to ask anything else before I sign off, because it is helping me just looking at your lovely comments here. I'm not reading everybody's names, but I am seeing them, and I will definitely look over everything after the show. You have helped me immensely. And I do take in the love, and Sasha in spirit form, I'm certain she's taking it in. She's probably loving it. And she probably even said, hey, I got to be on the show. I got to be a star. You know, I got to show off a little. And you know, one other thing I always thought about Sasha, she was like a little star. I think you saw it. She definitely had some star quality about her. And when I saw how acrobatic she was and adventurous, and by the way, someone once said to me, who had Siamese cat, said a Siamese cat is like a cross between a swan and a monkey. A swan and a monkey. And I thought, yep, that really describes it. And she was such a little adventurer. She was so fearless. And I thought, you know what? Who she reminds me of? She reminds me of like Angelina Jolie playing an action hero. I forget. I'm blanking on what Angelina Jolie has played characters like this. You know, very glamorous, very beautiful, but out there hanging on the ledge of a building or jumping off of Mack trucks onto another Mack truck on the freeway and all that. And I thought, Sasha reminds me of Angelina Jolie like that. All I need to do is put a little blue sapphire collar on her and she could walk the red carpet and be regal. Tricky Tree, I really enjoyed being here and listening to you. I'm so glad we all could help. Thank you. Thank you. And Imhurst, I'm hurrying free, and I know what you've been going through and others, and with your own pets. But yeah, it was unexpected. She was only 11 years old. And something I have photos of her on every birthday where I would go out. I know this is corny as hell, but I would, every year it was a tradition where I'd buy those numerical candles, like 2, 3, 4, 5. Every year I'd take a picture of her with a candle representing her age. And I'd always get a piece of cake or something, and I'd always have to say, no, I'm not feeding this to the cat. I know it's bad for the cat to feed her cake. The cake I'm going to eat. This is just a prop. But I would always take a picture holding her up with the cake plate, with the cake, with the candles showing each year. And someone once asked me, well, why don't you light the candle? And I said, well, have you ever tried to balance a dessert plate, a piece of cake, a Siamese cat, an iPhone, and a lighted flame? I'm not pushing my luck with a lighted flame on top of all of that. And any of you have ever tried to photograph a cat? You know what it's like. Any of you ever tried to photograph a cat? Usually get a picture like that would take about 57 attempts. At least 50, 60, 70 attempts. I'd have all these blurred pictures and Sasha going, no, put me down. Now look at this picture. And I'm like, take the damn picture. Pose, Sasha. I would say, Sasha, you're making this harder. We can get this over with in one picture if you just cooperate. But anyway, I'd always get a decent picture after all of my tries. And sometimes I'd have to resort to video. And by the way, that's a good trick if you're trying to photograph a cat. Take video, and then you can go through it on your phone or your computer, and you can pick still frames. That's the real trick to photographing a cat. Even dogs can be difficult to cooperate, but cats are really a challenge. Especially my little Aries female Siamese. And when it was a Zimmer, Sasha was regal and had so much in common with Angelina Jolie. She was also elegant like Angelina and Uma Thurman. Oh, she was an elegant cat. Like I said, Siamese cats were descended from royalty, literally from royalty, when they would live in the palace in Siam with the king. Commoners did not have Siamese cats. Unless it was gifted to you. It was gifted to you from the king of Siam. And I think of the king of Siam, I think, etc., etc., etc. Anna and the king and all. But it was like that. That's how you got a Siamese cat. Your mothership for son. Yes, still frames. Yeah, it's quite a trick. I'm surprised more people haven't known that. I've told that trick to a lot of people. Just take the freeze frames from the video, and you will, somewhere in that film, you may have a lot of blurred images, but you will get at least one usable image, and sometimes you'll get something really nice and spontaneous. So I have good pictures of Sasha on all of her birthdays, and right up to the last one in March of this year, March 28th, to 11 candles. And when she turned 10, I was thinking, this is going to get more expensive. I better hold on to the one and just add another number to it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to be buying 2 candles now because she's in double digits, but because I misplaced a lot of the older candles. Yeah, but I'm glad I did that. And when I was talking about Diane Kramer, the wonderful woman in San Diego who still breeds Siamese cats. Oh, Imhurst, thank you for saying that. Thank you. You're royal, Chuck, or should I say Charles? Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I think she still breeds Siamese. I have to get in touch with her. She breeds Siamese cats with integrity. She's in San Diego. She's online. We can find her. I forget. I could find out next week. If anyone's interested, um, but I would always send the pictures, the birthday pictures, to her, and she'd say, "Oh, that cat really loves you." I said, "Yeah, I think so." And Anastasia used to say, "I think she believes you're her boyfriend. You're not her owner. You're her boyfriend. You're her lover. You're her life partner." I mean, the way sometimes Sasha would snuggle up with me, and I think, it's like she's being almost romantic with me. That cat loved me so much, but I loved her right back. I wish I had her here. I have her in spirit. And anyway, I thank you all. I really should wrap this up. I've gone on almost 2 hours endlessly talking about Sasha. But anyway, I guess this is where I need to be a little more professional and say, watch me tomorrow and Thursday on the Oracle of Whimsy channel with the incredible Dr. Whimsy Anderson, my great friend, my great mentor, my great teacher, a wonderful Joel Tilson, who has joined our show, where we talk about a lot of current events, and we do live readings on there, things in the news. So that's where you'll see me the next Tuesdays and Thursdays. And also I'll be here next Monday. Check out my channel. As you know, you're on it right now, obviously, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. I've been making an effort to post a lot more videos. And understandably, thank you, Amherst. I'll probably put together a video for Sasha. I will. Now that I've announced it to the world what's happened, I will. I'm way behind, but I figure people will forgive me for the last 3 days not posting anything. You'll understand why. But I've got to get back on there, get those algorithms up again, get some postings, old Hollywood stories, and channeled readings. I have some things on there I'm very, very proud of, like my Harry Truman channeled reading. I wish more people would watch that. Its numbers haven't been as high as they should have. But then I also have things like my Amelia Earhart, which got huge numbers. My Marilyn Monroe got big numbers. Betty Davis. So I need to get back up to speed there and get those on there. And was this Sister Wolf Chuck? May I come back every time? Please do. I will always listen to you tell stories about Sasha. Your love is so great. It shows. Thank you. Well, I won't be quite so obsessed about Sasha in future shows. She'll come up in time, but today was definitely my tribute show to her. I didn't honestly went on here today not knowing what I was going to talk about, but I find the show always takes on its own life. As I told you, my great mentor Shakti Gawain taught me that, wrote creative visualization. She told me when she lectured all over the world, and she said she never prepared ever. She just went up to the podium and she knew she was going to be divinely guided. And that's what I take away with this show, on divinely guided. And also you out there, all of you people, you're the lifeblood of this, your comments, your questions. I'm so grateful to you. You are the lifeblood of this show. Thank you. So anyway, I will be on the 2 shows with Dr. Whimsy on her channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll be back here next Monday. I try for 5 o'clock, but as of late, it's been ending up 6 o'clock or a little before, a little after. I'm trying to be better on that. But you all find me. And anyway, as I was saying, I'm going to be putting up more videos, but channel readings, old Hollywood stories. I also have a series that I shot a couple of weeks ago, a little like 3-4 minute segments, enough for every day for 2 weeks, talking about the subject of perfectionism. Perfectionism that many of us creative people go through. Everybody to a degree. and I just explore the topic about how we can use it as a way to punish ourselves, to be mean to ourselves, cruel, to trying to achieve something that never exists to begin with, or we can use it just as an incentive to strive for excellence and growth. So anyway, I'll start posting those videos. It even occurred to me it might be good to do a series of videos on grief, like my grief, your grief, talking about it with about a person, or it being about a pet. And if anything, helping people to understand there's nothing wrong if you grieve for a pet as much as you do for a person. There's nothing at all wrong, but some people do feel a little bit of a stigma there about it. And if I can help in any way, I would love to do that. And I will mention, it's only responsible that I mention, that I am available to be commissioned for original artwork. I did get a commission just today from a very, very nice lady. I'm really looking forward to doing that portrait. And also I do private intuitive readings for people over the phone. I try to keep my rates very affordable. And it's always, always, always my honor. It is my privilege if I can be a vessel for information to come through for any of you. I love doing it, and it's extremely rewarding. So please keep me in mind. My information's in the comments. The best way to reach me, dransfieldchuck@gmail.com. Just one word, dransfieldchuck@gmail.com. Or shoot me a message on here on the channel or something. But love hearing from you. Thank you for your comments and your love. It means, it's like being hugged and embraced, and means the world to me. And I'm grateful. And you have helped me tremendously today. You've helped me tremendously. So thank you. I am at 2 hours and 1 minute and 28 seconds, 29 seconds, 30. I guess I have blabbed long enough. It's time for me to get off of here for now. So I'm going to say goodnight and bless you. And I send you my love. And I think I can speak for Sasha. She sends her love. And I know that. I know that she sends her love. I know she sends her love probably here right now.